Welcome to CBR. Venom and Spider-Man have a lot in common, and not only when it comes to appearances. Eddie Brock's journey with the Venom symbiote and Peter Parker's growth since being bitten are, in fact, deeply connected. Their shared history in the comics explains why characters like Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock and Tom Holland's Peter Parker are so similar despite not having crossed paths yet. Today, we will discuss the 3 Spider-Man franchises and the Venom trilogy to determine what their protagonists have in common. First, let's establish the context from the comics and how it has been translated to movies. In Marvel Comics, Venom is a character that comes from the Amazing Spider-Man series. Introduced as a living spider suit from another planet in an issue from 1984, Venom became a proper villain in the Amazing Spider-Man issue 300 in 1988. In the 1990s, Venom got his own comic series and became a popular anti-hero among readers. As this is one of the strangest storylines in Spider-Man, the exploration of the symbiote concept in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3 from 2007 was divisive. But when Sony Pictures decided to make Venom and his human host Eddie Brock the center of their own franchise, the character quickly became a favorite Marvel protagonist among the audience, similar to what had happened in comic book history decades earlier. When analyzing both contexts, these are the 5 main things Venom and Spider-Man have in common. Both Eddie Brock and Peter Parker have had terrible experiences working in journalism. Fake news has a huge negative impact on both of their reputations because they are interested in investigative journalism and committed to sharing the truth. Peter Parker works as a photographer for the Daily Bugle, and Eddie Brock was an investigative journalist and reporter for the paper. Both have connections to the newspaper's editor, J. Jonah Jameson, who played a part in shaping their public personas in the comics. Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland's Peters have never had an encounter with the symbiote, but Tobey Maguire's did. In the comics, Peter Parker is the first one to bond with the alien. Venom is then rejected by Peter and finds Eddie Brock. The Venom movie franchise has Eddie first bonding with Venom in a completely different situation. Either way, both Eddie and Peter know what it's like to have Venom in them, something most Marvel characters have never experienced. With both characters having to control their darker side when they bond with Venom, it's heavily implied a good symbiote host is someone who has certain qualities. In 2018's Venom, the Life Foundation's experiments showed how some human test subjects were not compatible with the alien species, being instantly killed when coming into contact. Following this logic, Peter Parker and Eddie Brock must share what it takes to be able to host Venom. It's common for enemies to have things in common in Marvel Comics, going as far as being formerly friends like Peter Parker and Harry Osborn. When it comes to Spider-Man and Venom, both characters are morally complex and often find themselves fighting their darkest urges, which is what symbiotes seem to need in a host. Although Venom and Spider-Man start off as enemies, Eddie Brock finds redemption in the comics. The character goes from being one of Spider-Man's main villains to an anti-hero who fights evil. After overcoming the grudge against Peter Parker, Venom teams up with Spider-Man multiple times to stop antagonists they have in common. Carnage in particular is probably their main shared enemy. The 2021 sequel, Venom Let There Be Carnage, introduced the villain to the Venom franchise, further developing Eddie Brock's redemption arc in the movies. In comparison to Carnage, it's clear Venom and Eddie are not evil. So, much like how Eddie and Peter both have a dark side, they have a good side and share a similar view on what is right and wrong. Venom essentially mirrors Spider-Man's powers and design, which makes a lot of sense in the comics timeline, considering their shared history with the symbiote. However, even without making Venom's origin about Spider-Man, this mirroring of powers and design is still present in the Venom franchise. The movies cleverly maintain this connection while allowing Venom to stand on his own. Spider-Man uses his webs for mobility, swinging through the city. He can also use them as weapons to trap or restrain enemies. While Spider-Man's web manipulation abilities are a consequence of the spider's bite, Venom's alien nature allows him to shapeshift his extremities into web-like tendrils, moving and attacking as if he's Spider-Man. Spider-Man's iconic wall-crawling ability stems from his spider-like adhesive properties, allowing him to scale surfaces easily. Venom, though an alien being that is nothing like a spider, has similar abilities due to the symbiote's organic structure. The adhesive nature of the symbiote allows Venom to stick to and crawl on walls just like Spider-Man. While Spider-Man moves with grace and precision, Venom's moves are aggressively predatory. Venom has symbiote awareness, his own version of a spider sense, which is extremely powerful. But unlike Spider-Man's automatically reactive spider sense, Venom's symbiote actively communicates with Eddie. Venom gives Eddie constant sudden warnings about danger and sometimes even takes control to protect him before Eddie himself realizes what's happening. When it comes to appearance, Venom's look mimics Spider-Man's when shape-shifting into the suit. The most direct visual parallel between Venom and Spider-Man is their eye shape and overall body silhouette. In comics and movies, the Venom suit design includes large, white eyes with a shape that closely mirrors Spider-Man's mask. When the symbiote fully envelops Eddie Brock, Venom takes on a form with exaggerated muscles that looks like a tight suit like Spider-Man's. Ultimately, Venom looks like a variant of Spider-Man from a horror movie universe. Both Spider-Man and Venom struggle with dual identities, which is a central conflict in their stories. Peter Parker's identity struggle is largely about responsibility and sacrifice, often leading to emotional pain and isolation. Peter's decision to first become Spider-Man is the driving force behind the famous line, "With great power comes great responsibility." After the death of Uncle Ben, Peter feels obligated to be Spider-Man despite the personal cost to his personal life. Naturally, this internal struggle creeps back from time to time. In Sam Raimi's trilogy, Peter tries to maintain a relationship with Mary Jane Watson, but continuously distances himself to keep her safe. He breaks her heart by telling her he cannot be with her, knowing that his identity as Spider-Man puts her at risk. In Andrew Garfield's The Amazing Spider-Man movies, Peter's relationship with Gwen Stacy is constantly jeopardized by his Spider-Man duties. Tom Holland's Spider-Man experiences a different struggle, as he's the teenage version of Peter Parker. Peter's eagerness to prove himself as Spider-Man often conflicts with his desire to enjoy his teenage life. While Spider-Man is fighting villains, Peter Parker is missing his teenage life's milestones. This internal conflict reaches its peak in the third movie of the trilogy, when Peter's identity as Spider-Man is revealed to the world. The hero spends the movie trying to fix this terrible problem, but is forced to completely sacrifice Peter Parker in the end so the world can have Spider-Man. With so many parallels between Spider-Man and Venom, even movies that don't put these characters together can bring attention to the similarities between them. Did we forget anything else that Venom and Spider-Man have in common? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time, thanks for watching CBR.